And do you support Donald Trump?
I do.
Why do you support Donald Trump?
I support him because in the past he's done good, and in my opinion, I just kind of feel like Harris rigged her election. She got into the office
You said she
when
what?
Biden was in office.
You said she what her election?
She rigged it.
Then how did she lose?
She lost because she basically pulled strings behind everybody else. Now, I don't know if you recall this, but when Biden got into office, there was claims that he was dementia, but also he never got the proper testing either
Can you wait? Hold on.
because the government
Can
didn't
I ask
want
you a
it to be
question?
released that he had dementia
Okay. Well, there's no evidence that he had dementia. There was no.
because they didn't want to do the test
Okay. So if they didn't do the test, how did they know he had dementia?
because there was a press release that wasn't actually signed.
So they did do a test.
Yes,
Okay. So then they did do the
but they
test.
would not release that to the public.
They have to.
But they didn't.
They have to.
I
That
mean, I believe
information would
you.
get out. Why do you think the information came out specifically about him having cancer?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
It's because we actually get that information? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so here, could you name like a policy of Trump's that you like?
I could not.
Could you name a reason why you support him?
Not off the top of my head, no, but I just like Trump and I think he's a good guy.
So you couldn't mention a reason to support him, but you just like him and he's a good guy. So you just feel like it based upon no reason at all?
Pretty much, yeah.
Would you vote for him if he were held civilly liable?
No.
So he was held civilly liable before you don't support him and you wouldn't vote for him, right?
But he got elected?
Yeah, because people overlooked that. So would you still support him?
Of course.
Okay, so you would support him even though he was held civilly liable.
Yeah.
So would you vote for him if you were held civilly liable of a child?
No.
So
That's
why
a
would
different
you?
story because,
So wait. So why
well,
would you?
one is minor incident and then the others is an adult account.
Yeah,
So
but
if
what,
it
but what
has
about
anything to do
the
with
victim
children,
being
then
an
no.
adult? Wait, what about the victim being an adult means that you would vote for the guy that them?
Well, because he's not considered a predator at that point.
What?
He
Do
wouldn't be
do do you do you,
basically.
do you think predators?
Yes, in a sense.
So then
If they meet the.
he's a therefore he's a predator.
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, so so then why would you vote for him if the victim were an adult, but not if the victim were a child?
Because that's a minor.
So what about the victim being a child means that you would vote for the? Okay, they just left.
We're going to be seeing over the next 3 years on a lot of them because they're long-term deals. So we will see the economic growth by that time. So the deals I'm talking about are from Japan and EU. So I know the Japan deal includes $550 billion worth of money going into our American industries. And on top of that, we're going to also be trying to make a deal for Alaskan natural gas on that with them, or trying to explore one. Rice imports are going to go up to 75%. They're going to also
Oh,
try to buy
so that we're
U.S.
going to decrease investment in the country? You know that when we impose tariffs on other countries, it decreases how much they trade with us.
Yeah, so the thing is,
They
he's
reduce
also
their investment in our country. So you want them to reduce their investment in our country?
no. So the I was gonna see if I can get on that too. So the thing is that he's also going to switch up those tariffs depending on the relationship of them. So it might decrease, not sure by how much, but if they're like in the annex of orders, it usually makes it to where they don't have a super high tariff. So then it'll make it a lot easier to trade with them without having issues like that.
Repeat what you just said because I'm confused. Uh, do you agree with me at least that tariffs reduce trade?
So they do, yes. Whenever you have really
Okay.
high, it really does tend to drop. Yes.
Well, any level of a tariff reduces trade. It's
Yeah.
the point of a
So
tariff. So if it reduces trade, then you would understand that that's going to then lead to what's called that's going to then lead to there being less investment from one country around the world into our country. They're selling
yeah.
less of their
So
products in our country, so they have less of an investment in our country. How is that going to be branded as an economic benefit?
so the thing that he wants to push with it is so in the annex of orders, like if you're a country that's on our thing, that you'll get a lower tariff rate. So it's I think between 25% and lower.
But that's
Um,
from the heightened tariff that he put it up to. So it's not a
yeah.
lower tariff. It's a lower tariff than what originally he put it up to, which is not a good measure for how high the tariff is. It's a higher tariff than what existed prior. Well, higher tariff, which means it reduces investment from what existed prior. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, so in this agreement as well, I think it's saying a baseline of 15%. So I'm
Which
not
is
sure
going to
exactly
reduce
how.
investment into our country by a lot.
Yeah, but I think beforehand, I think it was 25%. So I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to cut tariffs so
But
that they will.
25% is what he raised it up to. So, like, what was it prior to Trump putting it to 25%?
I'm not 100% with you on that.
Yeah, you should probably look into that because that reduces investment into our country. The idea that Trump is trying to play this off as he's getting some increase in investment is nuts. I can't even believe that he's convincing people of that because tariffs quite literally do the complete opposite.
So I
Can
mean
you
that's
tell me what a
true.
tariff is?
So a tariff is imposed on another country to it's really kind of a hard way to explain it because of the simple fact that it's so much that goes into it. So it's both the
Really?
person who receives it and then on top of that the person who's also importing it to us gets taxed.
No. So a
No?
tariff is a tax on an imported good. Who pays that tax? The American importer that's buying the product, and it's passed down to the consumer because it's an aspect of cost of production and distribution. It's not very hard to explain. That's a very simple explanation of what a tariff is.
All right. I was about to
Imported goods
say
are goods that come from other countries around the world and come to our country. The reason why it impacts other countries is because if it is the case that is at a greater cost to then sell in America, well then their goods will be demanded less in America, therefore negatively impacting their businesses, right? But it also
yeah.
negatively impacts us by making our consumer products more expensive. And when they place retaliatory tariffs on us, it also then reduces the value of our dollar because it lowers demand on our dollar, and also decreases how much, or I mean, it decreases the standards for our businesses and how much our businesses are valued on a global stage.
Makes perfect sense on that aspect. I was about to say trying to think. So I know the only other one that's really been a good plan by that then is the EU one, and that's just for U.S. energy, and it's like
That's
750
private.
billion.
That's all private.
Oh,
They're
like
just
the
saying
deal
they're just
itself.
saying that yeah all they're saying is they hope to get this. But if they are
Oh,
imposing
okay.
tariffs, then they're going to be decreasing investment. So I'm really confused why any of this would be good for investment. Secondly, you also said that you're like in support of Donald Trump's border policy. Do you like mass deportation?
So in a sense, yes, but I mean there's always going to need to be reform because everything in this country needs some kind of
Can
reform.
I ask you a
But we're
question?
probably never. Yes.
Can you name one way that deportation benefits us economically?
So it doesn't benefit us, but at the same time, it's not beneficial to the same person who comes in here because sure, we profit off of it because they're giving us money in back, but they also don't get money back as well, like a U.S. citizen would, which would be your tax refunds, or you don't get social,
What,
or you
what do
don't
you
get
what?
health care.
Wait, no, we're saying that like people who specifically are coming to the country or undocumented who haven't committed a violent crime or bad crime should be given a pathway to citizenship where they do not have to leave the country rather than being deported. If they have not committed a
Yeah,
violent crime or bad crime, they shouldn't be deported. They should be given a pathway to citizenship. And that's the point that I'm referencing is that mass amnesty is a significantly better alternative to mass deportation in terms of our economy, our culture, our society, like being empathetic and compassionate for people. Like, I mean, there's so many points I can bring up specifically to say why mass amnesty is a better alternative to mass deportation.
So yeah, so you're not wrong. There should be another path before they're deported all the way, which would be some sort of that. But at this current time, we don't have anything like that. So what they do is they just deport them and then allow them to come back in legally, is the case, or is supposed to be.
But that takes 5 to 7 years on average. So what real incentive does someone have in the United States who's undocumented in telling the authorities that who they are to be able to come through that process? It's going to be significantly less than if you were to say, we'll give you a pathway to citizenship without you having to leave the country. Obviously, in that circumstance, someone would identify themselves to authorities given that they meet the set of criteria of having committed a violent crime or bad crime. In that circumstance, they would immediately get involved with the system, and then it makes it easier for law enforcement to identify anyone who has committed a violent crime or bad crime. Because they're not focused on, deporting people who are literally just coming to the country for a better life.
That's true. I think what it's more set up to be is that we just don't allow it to be broken anymore, because I get it, it's that, but at the same time, if we just allow people to come in with no consequences, it kind of puts the background on the U.S. that we are weak in some sort of sense by not kind of enforcing what we have in place, and it just make us a laughingstock of the nations at that case, because every other country enforces some kind of immigration.
Okay, so every other country, we could point to countries around the world having universal healthcare systems. Does that mean you want to adopt a universal healthcare system? I do.
I mean, it could be beneficial, but it could also backfire on the case of that.
So just because it is the case that, this is, held by other countries around the world in terms of their government or their laws, that doesn't mean you want it here, right? And then also, I also want to address the idea that the public confidence in Trump is horrible on a global stage. It's diabolically terrible. Comparative to, the Democrats, he looks significantly worse. I'm saying multiple times lower confidence rates for most other countries, especially those that we're allied with.
Yeah, I was about to say, I see that a lot. Is it because of this recent, Russia-Ukraine peace talks?
No, this was under his first administration. There was very low public confidence in Trump.
Okay, I was about to say, I guess that makes sense. I just know a lot of it recently is because of the peace talks.
Well, it's both. I mean, now there's been, even since then, there's been tariffs. There's been diabolical scenarios where he's advocating for annexing countries around him. Those are obviously really important to take into account when we're looking at the world stage. Him defunding the World Health Organization, the CDC.
I was about to say, it should have been handled better with funding on a lot of those cases. Whenever they defunded something, it should have went into a different aspect of it instead of just altogether being taken away. So, kind of like with Medicaid, the money that was taken away, it should have went to rural hospitals instead of that, just for the simple fact, because now we're going to see a lot of
rural hospitals will have to be closed due to the fact that Medicaid is being cut.
Yeah.
Rural hospitals will literally close.
Yeah, so it should have went into funding for the hospitals instead of just taking that money away entirely, just from Medicaid alone.
But that's what Trump did. They defunded it specifically because they increased how hard it is to get the work requirements.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that everything he's done is
good. Health insurance. So if millions of people lose their health insurance, that wouldn't be good. I think everyone deserves health insurance.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm not saying that everything he's done so far has been the greatest decision he's made, but yes, there should have been decisions where he should have switched that money instead of just taking it away entirely. It should have went to the same part of it, just in a different aspect that still helps it.
So like what?
In a sense. So instead of just the Medicare or the Medicaid just being cut entirely from people, it should have went to being able to maintain those hospitals that are going to now close over the next, 3 years?
Yeah, given that that's not going to happen, what specifically happened that Trump supports that you think is positive that makes up for how bad this is?
So I know the only other thing that's really not horrible would be stocks, but I haven't really read into all the stocks.
But
stocks
were at all-time highs under the Biden-Harris administration. And if anything,
Yeah.
they decreased heavily when Trump got in office because of the tariffs.
Oh, because of all the people that have stopped investing in.
Because of
If
the
I'm
lack
getting
of
that right.
certainty in the market, because it is the case that tariffs decrease the level of certainty in terms of expectations of what's going to happen.
Makes sense. I was about to say that I can understand that. The confidence level.
Sure. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about or add?
I'm trying to think, 'cause I'm not sure if there's any. I know the only other thing would be Russian Ukraine peace talks, because I know that's like another big thing at the moment.
We've got nothing from that.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't. It's just on the same aspect, though. I feel like both sides really don't want to end the war because it's beneficial to both sides, but not entirely calling the countries beneficial, but the people in power beneficial.
Well, I mean, Ukraine's defending themselves from Russia invading their country. So obviously they're going to
Yeah,
benefit from their country staying a country. And obviously Russia benefits from taking the country of Ukraine and having control over that themselves. But that doesn't mean that they're justified in doing that. We need to be literally defending Ukraine because we cannot let people like Russia just go in and take land like that. That's disgusting. The same thing is true for
yeah. I
Israel.
was
You
about to say
shouldn't
you're
let
not.
Israel just go in and illegally annex land either, right? Any country going in and
Yeah.
illegally annexing land is doing something wrong.